did Ryne Sandberg basically play the hand that something's coming and beat them to the punch?
I don't think there's any doubt about that, Mike. He clearly knew what was ahead. He knew changes were coming, and he obviously had a good inkling that he was one of the changes. But it's still shocking to see a guy who worked as hard as he worked to get to this point, to get this job, just abruptly quit. And I completely accept the notion that no one saw this coming. It was written all over the faces of Pat and Ruben at that press conference that they had no idea. And he walked into the ballpark at 10 o'clock this morning. He took the elevator up to the executive offices and told them what he wanted to do. And you don't see something like this very often, let me tell you, pal.
Jayson, I mean, how surprising is it? This guy's a Hall of Famer, very successful player, obviously a lot of pride. He was a great player. How difficult was it for him, and how bad must it have been for him to do this?
Bad. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He talked about how the losing got to him. I don't think it was just the losing. I think the losing was part of it. I think the job ate him up. I've seen it in a lot of managers for a lot of teams where they walk in the door, confident as can be, decisive, clear idea about what they want done and how they're going to do it. And over time, you see that feeling eroded, and it eroded in Ryne Sandberg. His teams never played the way he played. They never played the way he wanted them to play. They didn't respond to his leadership style. And you combine all that with all the uncertainty over his future, I just think it overwhelmed him in the end. And you know what? It's a shame because he's a good man.
He is, and you see the emotion. I mean, the guy was in tears up there almost. I mean, quivering, his eyes filled. This is something that pained him to do. But in the end, was this what's best for this organization? We had talked a couple of weeks ago. What do you gain out of firing him in the middle of the season? Just let him finish it out. But in the end, is this the best thing for this organization, is to have him come up there and do this today?
I don't know how to answer that because it's just more turmoil in a season of turmoil with a lot more to come. I think they had concluded he was not the right guy and he was not going to be the manager for the long term. But resigning abruptly like this, with no clear line of succession and no real ability to even name a successor, because he alluded himself to the quote-unquote looming changes. This is not going to be Ruben Amaro's decision, the long-term manager here. It's going to be Andy McPhail's or whoever Andy decides to hire to replace Ruben, assuming that that's what's coming. So this is going to be now 3 months of more uncertainty on one more level.
Jayson Stark, last one for you, Jay. Thanks for popping back on real fast. As you saw Ruben sitting there emotional as well, this is the second time he leaves in tears as a manager walks off in front of him. Is the inevitable coming for him, and do you anticipate he beats them to the punch, or will he sit there and wait it out?
Oh, I don't expect Ruben to resign. Absolutely not. I think it's safe to say that Ruben and a lot of people in the baseball operation are concerned about where their futures are heading. And, it's really difficult to 100% predict anything about the Phillies and anything about any decision that gets made, but the wheels are in motion to make changes. That is clear. Ryne Sandberg was going to be one of the changes. I'm sure Ruben suspects deep down in his heart that he's going to be one of the changes. But until we get from this point, until the Andy McPhail era or whatever or whenever that kicks in, it's really going to be hard to gauge anything with 100% certainty. But, Ruben's long-term job prospects here any better than Ryne Sandberg's? I think you know the answer to that.
This almost feels like Goodfellas at the end when everybody got caught and they're just whacking everybody, and it's just like it's a matter of time. We're going to get you eventually. But what does that say then for the impending trade deadline? I mean, does Amaro make those deals, or is it now evident that Gillick has to be the guy, or does McPhail? How do you think this muddies the trade deadline waters?
I don't know that the that the manager resigning has any effect on the trading deadline, to be honest with you.
No, but I mean, Amaro's impending, I guess.
That's always been an issue.
Yeah.
That's always been a question. That's always been a factor. No matter what Pat Gillick says, I'm convinced that Rubin will not be making these decisions independently, put it that way.
All right, Jayson Stark, everybody, ESPN.com, senior baseball writer here on the Sports Bash. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Mike.